911, what's your emergency?
We have a friend here, and we think he's had too much to drink. We can't wake him up right now, and we'd like to get an ambulance here ASAP. I can't even feel his pulse. I'm just freaking out right now.
What has he been drinking?
I think it was just vodka.
Once upon a memory, we walked beside you as you discovered the world, one amazement at a time. Later, we watched as you ran ahead on new paths of opportunity and experience. The world is yours now. Brett was pretty much your typical young man. Of course, to me, he was more than typical. He was, as I would say, everything and then some. He was very smart. His last semester at the high school, he had almost a 4.0. He did really well on school admission tests, and there are a lot of schools that were trying to recruit him. And he was also strong. He was really known as being like a wall when it came to his abilities on the soccer field, because not too many people could get past Brett. And wherever your journey leads, always remember how much we love you and how proud we are of the person you've become. He was going to be leaving for college in about a week and a half. So it was the end of summer, and a lot of kids were getting together, and that's what he told us that he was going to go do. My last memories are him walking down the hallway, saying our normal I love yous. I also said to him, don't drink anything tonight. I didn't think I needed to say that, because I didn't think he would. But for some reason, as a parent, that was just what I said. We got a phone call at 1:45 in the morning, and I answered the phone in our bedroom. The voice on the other side said, "This is a Carmel police officer." And he said, "I'm with your son, Brett. He's been drinking." He said his heart stopped. Paramedics are here working on him, and we're going to be taking him to St. Vincent Heart Hospital, and you need to get here as quickly as you can. I thought, well, surely Brett's going to be okay. You know, of course I was very nervous, because when they said taking him to the heart hospital, that didn't sound good at all. But en route to the hospital, you know, I'm just like, he's strong, he's going to be okay, they're going to get him back, this just can't happen. And we got to the hospital, and they had him in a bed in the emergency room, and they said that they had gotten his heart started again. So I thought, whew, yay, you know, he's going to be okay, because his heart is beating. And then a little while later, they told us that he was still in serious condition. And they said that they were going to move him from the emergency room to the intensive care unit. And then when he was in the intensive care unit, doctors told us that they were going to do a brain scan. And I hadn't even thought about that yet. You know, how was the brain going to be from all this? So they did the brain scan, and then it took several hours for them to get a doctor that would read the brain scan and talk to us. But then the doctor did do that and talk to us and said the brain scan didn't look good. There was no sign of brain activity. And, you know, then of course we knew that was the end. He wasn't with us. You are amazing, smart, and strong, and fun-y. I will miss you being here every day and our conversations about so much and nothing. And when I wrote that card, I did not expect my missing him every day to be because he was not alive. I thought he was going to be going to college.
Brett Ryan Finbloom passed away on August 5th, 2012 at the young age of 18.
I think there's been some situations where teenagers may have been at a party where they've seen someone pass out, and then after a few hours that person's been okay. I want them to know that that was lucky, and you're not always going to have that luck. And so you don't want to take that chance.
According to the Department of Health, more than 24 Hoosiers under the age of 21 have lost their lives due to alcohol poisoning since 2004.
Right now, I spend a good amount of time working on educating teens about the dangers of underage drinking and Indiana's Lifeline Law. Senator Jim Merritt was the author of the Lifeline Law, and he came to my son's visitation. That's the first time that we met Senator Merritt.
My name is Jim Merritt. I'm state senator from Indianapolis. I represent the northeastern part of Indianapolis. The Indiana Lifeline Law was crafted with tender loving care. If someone becomes ill from being overserved, that there was a clear understanding in the law that an individual could call 911, and if they stayed with the individual and made sure that the police knew that they were the ones that called, they would have immunity. For instance, the individual who is overserved, that is ill, that is the patient, they do not have immunity in this situation, and thus you're not saying to someone, oh, go ahead and have a bender, go ahead and have a wild time at night because you won't get in trouble. You are going to get in trouble.
I hadn't heard about the Lifeline Law until after my son passed away on August 5th. And when it was passed, school had just gotten out of session, the colleges, and so it didn't get very much publicity on being passed. There wasn't the funding to advertise the Lifeline Law, and it pretty much was just dropped.
I think more that you promote this law, the more people think about not drinking alcohol to excess. I believe it's up to us, among many other people, to spread the word about the law, and that's why we're here today.
It was such a tragedy that the students that were with my son didn't have the education, didn't have the knowledge about the law, and therefore didn't call fast enough to save his life.
We don't want to say that it's good to drink alcohol, but we want to acknowledge that sometimes people make poor choices and people make mistakes.
The main message that I want to get across to the community is not to hesitate in calling 911. Try to be responsible for yourself and not get yourself in a situation where you're going to have a medical emergency, because you don't want to need a lifeline, because a lifeline is a float with a rope on it. A float with a rope on it is something that someone throws to you when you're sinking and when you're drowning, and you don't want to be sinking, drowning. You want to make good decisions in the first place. If you have a friend who's in a situation where they have that medical emergency because they've been drinking too much, then you want to call 911 right away. You don't want to try and play doctor, because then it could be too long. If you wait too long and you have a situation where there's death, where there's permanent injury, because there could be brain damage, then you would have to live with your conscience for a long time if you didn't make that call.
There are people that are there to help and to make that call. If someone does make a poor choice, does make a mistake, make that call. Do not panic. Steady yourself and call 911.
I think they would all want to do things differently. I think that they probably would want to make that call right away, because what happened that night was the worst thing that could happen, was losing to them their friend, to us our son. If that call had been made, then there was a chance that Brett would have survived. In fact, we had a family come to us on New Year's Day, and they said that Brett saved their daughter's life. The kids that were with her knew Brett's message, and they knew to call 911 right away. The paramedics took her to the hospital, and the next day she was alive. I do think that Brett would want to change the mentality of teenagers and tell them not to drink. And I think that he would also want to say to make that call right away. People probably hadn't heard about alcohol poisoning and someone actually dying from drinking too much. Well, it happens more often than you think.
Every 90 minutes, a teen dies as a result of drinking alcohol. Make the call to save a life. You have the power to make good decisions. You have the power to help your friends do the same. Will you make the call? Will you choose to matter?